Namaste and welcome to the Free Guru's YouTube channel. I'm your host Sri Narasimhan. We are here at the World Hindu Congress today at Bangkok, Thailand. We have a very special guest, Captain Pravin Chaturvedi. He is the founder and creator of Prachyam. Folks who are on Twitter X would know of Prachyam that they made. It was the history of...
It was actually entire history of the Ram Mandir Movement. So we had covered, that what went into. Today, the Ram Mandir temple is coming up and is going to be inaugurated. But really, what went into that, How many people sacrificed so much, even with their lives, So it was on the entire journey of the Ram Mandir movement, which YouTube removed it in just 1 hour,
So the latest edition of Prachyam's production, which was explaining to us about the Ram Mandir movement from the year 1992 onwards.
Even from before.
Even from before. And that was taken down by YouTube.
Yeah.
Did they explain to you about
why they said it violates their whatever norms, Best part is, what? So it was taken down just in 1 hour after we posted that on our channel on the YouTube. And then what we did, we just put it on all other channels, on Twitter, on other social media platforms, and it really became viral. 20 million views in just one day. And people started tagging YouTube India and Sundar Pichai, and asking them, that why this was removed. This is, the real history. And YouTube had to put it back.
They might say on their side that it was triggered by complaints.
But why they put it back then? Later on they said, okay, they have reviewed it and it doesn't violate, their policies.
But you lost the momentum.
We lost the momentum. It was on Diwali, it was, for that festival. And we really, that it was a very important moment for us. And it was specially made, for Diwali as a Diwali special gift for the entire Indian diaspora, all the Bharathis around the world. And they removed it, So obviously it was very disappointing for us.
There is a concerted effort in the social media, whether overt or covert, to bring down good quality Indian, Indic and Hindu content. And folks, unfortunately, in India have taken a bit of that medicine themselves. So they are very quick to judge a production, a creative effort, or even a historical effort, and automatically categorize it as something that's fake or untrue or misinformation or disinformation. Right?
Absolutely, absolutely. The fact is that, we have, these leftist, communist, Islamist, Wahhabis, very well positioned and very well placed, I'm saying it very bluntly and very openly, but that is the fact of the matter. Who are there to put these checks and balances, who are, made to sit there and who call the shots. The second thing is, you're right, anything to do with Bharat, the great pride, civilizational pride, if you want to talk about that, the great Bharatiya Sanskriti, the great heritage, the knowledge systems, the traditions and all that, anything about Bharat, anything about Sanatan Dharma, anything about Hinduism, well, these guys are there, they will not let you talk about it. For long, they have peddled a fake narrative, a concocted narrative about Bharat and about Hindus, and have been putting us down for a very long time. And the fact is, and the truth is, they don't want that narrative to be changed or to be questioned, because that's how, the world has perceived us. And when they see a platform like Prachyam coming up, filmmaking standards of the world, when they see, better than Discovery and National Geographic, when they see, how come a Indian, a Hindu filmmaker do that? How come we can allow this to happen? So when they see such beautiful, powerful documentaries, talking with so much pride about an authority and talking about, the true civilizational history and, the great culture, the pristine culture that we are, it doesn't go down well with them.
We bandy about this term called content a lot, right? When Valmiki and Tulsidas, they wrote their magnum opuses, these days they'll be called content writers, right?
Yeah.
And we have trivialized our own history and put our own stories, our wealth, our richness into the stream of content. And we let the content curators curate our Ramayana, our Mahabharata, our history, our identity, our values, just become content that can be stopped, filtered,
interpreted the way they want it, And this has been happening in, can anybody dare to do with any other religion, this kind of misappropriation, that they would do with our history. They've called our history Itihas as myth. For us in the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, it's Itihas. But they've just labeled it myth. It's myth for them.
Yeah. Take any school with a religious denomination in the West. For them, history starts with the number 0. And they'll always be careful to say, folks who came before the 0, they needed to be saved. From what? I don't know. But, they were just hanging around. They didn't know they were lost.
You're right. One of the films which is under production right now at Prachyam Studios is, we have traced how old is our civilization, Bharatiya civilization. How old is that, So with solid, hardcore evidences, we have been able to trace it back to 50,000 years.
50,000.
50,000,
Wow.
And it is even more. But, we have been able to pinpoint, with scientific evidences, that at least we are here for the last 50,000 years. And that is the name of the film, 50,000 Years of Bharatiya Civilization, which is continuous civilization.
I can tell you this. It's a movie called 300 BC. So they are relenting that 300 years before their savior, you had the Persians and the Greeks kind of fighting. That's the plot behind 300 BC. And you said 50,000. Well, you can say 48,000 BC.
Yeah.
Pravinji, tell us a little bit about your journey, how you got into this filmmaking. You're a captain, assumed you were in the services.
Yeah.
And then life took a turn.
Very amazing and interesting journey I've had in my life, from being a marine officer, then and I was a writer and a poet right from my early days, and a photographer.
Okay.
So that creative instinct was there. But yeah, once in Canada, I met a very great filmmaker, Michael, and I became good friends with him. He was a French-Canadian filmmaker. And when I saw his studio and a film being made there, it was being, in the post-production being edited, I think that was the moment I fell in love with cinema. And I decided that this is what I would like to be in my life. So I started learning and working with him. And then he recommended me that I should take a formal training as well. So I went to Los Angeles to the University of Southern California.
Sure, UCLA.
Yeah, and UCLA, both the universities. So I took a formal training in all the aspects of the craft, And then I was there working between Canada and US, and looking back at Bharat, I used to always wonder that why in Bharat people don't make, films on so many beautiful things that our country has. Great tradition. Bharat has the greatest tradition of storytelling in the world. And the oldest one. You just see Itihas, whether you take Maharishi Valmiki's Ramayana or you take Maharishi Ved Vyasa's Mahabharata. I think Mahabharata is the greatest story, greatest script, greatest screenplay written in the history of mankind. See the characters and how beautifully it has all been integrated together. See, we had such geniuses, we had such great traditions, and what our industry was showing, to our own people, to our own youth, to our own generations. Actually, that was the ideological subversion they were doing, and for a very long time. So, and I always say, and I say it with a lot of emphasis, that Bollywood, I hate to say that word, the Indian film industry, it was at some point of time before independence making great films.
Yeah.
So from being great, it started, being bad, from bad to worse.
Yeah.
And now it is actually C1, you see.
Yeah.
So that is the level they have come to, now, sitting in the feet of ISI and Wahhabis and, underworld and drug mafias, they are peddling all fake narratives against our own country, against our own culture, against our own dharma, against Hindu dharma, and they're subverting the youth and they're perverting them as well, So in a country like Bharat, I always thought, why? So there was a calling, that why to wait for others? I should come back and I should do my bit, So that's how, I came back and we founded, this very dedicated Indic filmmaking studio.
What year was this?
So I came back in 2012.
Okay.
We started this studio called Moonlight first, and then we thought we should have a very dedicated, specific, different setup, a different studio for making films on Bharatiya Sanskriti, the heritage, the great legacies of the rishis, great traditions that we have, the knowledge systems that we have, So Prachyam was founded, and now Prachyam is the first Hindu OTT in the world. Oh, and thank you. And you can see all the content. You will really be proud to watch. It talks about your own history, proud history, your own civilization, and what wrong has been done to you. Like now there is a series on Prachyam OTT, the history of invasions on Bharat.
Okay.
From 7th century, from Muhammad bin Qasim to what we have gone through, the Hindus, the persecution of 100 million Hindus, in 1000 years.
Would be more.
Will be more.
Yeah.
And then now we are coming with a series on the great freedom fighters, the young ones too, chronologically, right from the beginning. And now we are coming on a film on Ram Mandir, and we are coming up with Prachyam Kids for Indians, for Bharatiya people around the world. If they want to show their kids, something which is very, very culturally aligned, they can watch Prachyam Kids, on our OTT.
It's a fantastic collection you guys are taking your platform toward. We really look forward to having all of this. You talked about the content that we have and why aren't we making movies out of it, right? In the late 70s, George Lucas thought about this, right? And Lucas wrote Star Wars based on Ramayana. He took elements of Ramayana and a Princess Leia, this Princess Sita, and he made it in such a way intergalactical story, and rest is history, right?
Absolutely.
He just took a brief element of Ramayana and he made 7, 8, 10 part movie, and then it's got a lot of other paraphernalia around it, digital paraphernalia.
And the biggest blockbuster, he had billions in all of that. And not only that, the Lucas and Spielberg, they got together and they wrote Indiana Jones. Now, if you see, Indiana Jones also picked up, from our history, from the kind of Puranic stories that we have, So, yeah, you're right.
Avatar too.
Avatar, Avatar is a Sanskrit word.
Absolutely.
The entire concept, there is a concept of interplanetary exchange and galaxy conversation or communication anywhere else in the world. It is there, in our itihas, So that concept, even Avatar is based on basically on the great stories and the epics that we have, in our country.
There is this centrality of faith. Because the stories are so wide and complex, right? You need to have faith in actually hearing out the various vignettes and the various parts and the various drama that happens in different locations. And then when you hear it all, you put it back together, it makes sense, right? Just think about, I'm just amazed at how they wrote it. Some say it's one author, some say it's more than one author. But the way in which it ties back, you've got to have the faith and the patience to listen to all of those little stories that then forms this big magnum opus.
I think simply genius. India, I think Bharat has been a land of great genius minds. And these were, some great rishis. Their mental capability was, so we belong to that race, to that legacy. So there is no reason that why we can't, tell our stories in a great way. Or why we can't make, great films. We have it in our genes. We have never tried doing it, and the people who could have done it, they were sold out, and that's a very sad part, They just didn't do it, And they caused a lot of harm to the society and to the generations, including all the ruling parties post-independence. And we have made a film, called Sahebs Who Never Left. It's in 2 parts, Sahebs 1 and Sahebs 2. You must watch that.
सोने की चिड़िया कहलाने वाले भारत में इतनी ज्ञान और वैभव की रहती हम अचानक इतने कमजोर कैसे पड़ गए? हम दूसरों से नहीं बल्कि अपनों से हारे। जो इतिहास हम सबको बताया गया है, ये वो कहानी नहीं है। ये कहानी है भारत के सच्चे इतिहास की, भारत की आइडियोलॉजिकल सबवर्जन की।
Answers this question, that what actually happened with us pre-independence, during independence, during the transfer of power, how, our country was divided ruthlessly by somebody, Gora, who came Redcliffe, and he decided, he took a chalk, a pencil, and he just drew a line, and the country was divided between India and Pakistan.
कल वो सुबह होगी जिसके लिए लाखों लड़े, बस कुछ दिन और फिर सारे क्रांतिकारी राष्ट्रवादी लोगों को बुलावा आएगा दिल्ली का। सब मिलकर भारत की एक नई कहानी लिखेंगे। अपना देश अब आजाद है, अब क्या फिक्र। पर वो बुलावा कभी नहीं आया। बंद दरवाजों के पीछे न जाने किन किन समझौतों पर साइन किए गए। फिर अचानक से शोर हुआ कि 10 हफ्तों में देश हिंदू मुसलमानों में बांट दिया जाएगा। जिस सिंधु सरस्वती की गोद में हमारा जन्म हुआ था, कुछ ईसाइयों ने हमसे वो छीन ली। हिंदू मुसलमान एक दूसरे को काट रहे थे, लाशें गिनने वाला कोई नहीं था। मगर अपने नेता क्या कर रहे थे? इन सब ने गोरों को ये करने क्यों दिया?
And then post-independence, what were the Sahebs, brown Sahebs they were doing, what they did, what ideological subversion we have gone through. So it's all there in that film.
Yeah.
And the leftist communist, influence on the media, on films, on academia, everything. On our, what we read in our curriculums and in our textbooks, is all leftist communist history.
We have taken, along all these years, I'm talking about the 1,000 years of slavery, colonization, and bouts of slavery in between. We have taken very nicely to this word agency. हमने agency ले ली, Queen की ले ली, His Majesty की ले ली. This agency of representing some other interest, some other party outside the land, outside our nation, has become just a common thing. It's like, hey, there's nothing better to do, so let us just represent somebody else. A communist interest, a socialist interest, some other foreign theology's interests.
Agency, comes from the word agent. When you have submitted yourself to the will and to the mercy of your master, so you are his agent. You're not, no longer operating on your own. So basically, you are a broker.
Exactly.
Who has been, who has sold your consciousness to some foreign entity, and you are basically, doing a dalali, for them. And that's what has happened, in Bharat. We had, these sold out agencies or agents right from the Mughal period, and then later, we had many in the British period. Even the great Maharajas, they were all agents. They were all sold out. So they forgot, about the general public. Enjoying their own lives, they became ayyash.
It became an afterthought.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny that we are sitting in Bangkok, in Thailand, nation that has managed to retain elements of its monarchy and the Raja Praja relationship. And if you notice, if you go around, almost every part of the city is named after some aspect of Ramayana.
Yeah.
And you notice in the city's architecture, wide roads, large boulevards, trees and foliage, and literally an architectural style that does not mimic the West, but tries to integrate elements of its own culture in infrastructure planning, in their thought, in their identity. I don't think the Thais are agents of anybody except themselves.
Even India would have been like that. Had we taken the right direction after independence, we did not, because of Nehru's, this infatuation with socialism, we did not take the right steps in the right direction, since independence. And that's how, we got subverted. And it just continued, with the Indira Gandhi's time. And the second part is, the truth is, and the harsh reality is, that Bharat was divided between India and Pakistan on the basis of religion. Because the Islamists, they thought, they cannot live with the Hindus in this country anymore. They wanted a different country. So they took the country, but they did not go. That country became, an Islamist country. But, this ghost of secularism, had been put on our head, right from the beginning. And this secularism, which was then officially inducted in the Constitution by Indira Gandhi in 1976, it is still there,
हमें लग रहा था कि 1947 में गोरे साहब चले जाएंगे। हम गलत थे। कुछ साहब ऐसे भी थे जो कभी गए ही नहीं।
So that's how, we are paralyzed, we can't even think about doing such things, because then suddenly we'll be called communals,
Even Lakshmana was paralyzed by Indrajit's Mayajat. The fear that the whole nation is paralyzed.
Yeah, it was only one Lakshman that also, on the battlefield, the entire country has been, paralyzed. So people will have to come off it now, and they will have to think, what is in the interest of the country, in the interest of, their own religion, in the interest of Hinduism. Hinduism is the most benevolent religion in the world. It has the greatest of the philosophies, and it is all inclusive. It's the only truly pluralistic religion in the world, and yet, subverted and bashed about, right from the beginning. So the Hindus will have to take pride now. They will have to, lead, with example, and lead, the populace, towards their own great future. And otherwise, like, this is a beautiful conference which is happening here in Thailand. people, the Hindu diaspora from around the world is coming. We at Prachyam are trying to do the same through films. So we all will have to come together. You are doing, with three gurus. We all will have to come together.
Thanks to Sri Ayarji.
Yeah, yes. Thanks to Sri Ayarji. And remember, we all will have to come together in one ecosystem and work towards, because our causes are common. Our goals are same. It is just that we have to now meet up, come together and work towards that.
How wonderful is that? The awareness and comprehension is the first step in recognizing where we are and where we need to go. So our dear friend Sri Vibhuti Jaji would always say, arise, awake, assert and act. And we are a part of that awakening aspect of it. Pinch ourselves and say that you're still here, the battle is still on, right? To assert yourself and have your identity the way it should be. And there's no apologies for that.
Never. You have to be, the motto of Prachyam is be unapologetic in whatever you do. You're standing for the truth. Stand by it.
Well, with that, thank you very much, Sri Chaturvedi ji. It's Captain Chaturvedi ji. And
my pleasure.
We would like to have you again.
Sure.
After your next production, and hope we can have it.
May I brief you, now we are coming up with a film on Guru Shishya Parampara. The oldest, greatest Parampara tradition of Bharat was the Guru Shishya Parampara.
Yes.
Which helped in preserving our knowledge for 50,000 years. And the beautiful way of disseminating knowledge, from the Guru to his Shishya, and how this was all destroyed by the Britishers and by this English Education Act of 1835. There is a very deeply researched film which is coming up. In the first week of December, we are going to release it. You must watch it.
15 अगस्त 1947 स्वतंत्रता दिवस। वर्ल्ड वॉर का अंत हाल ही में हुआ है। पश्चिम, इस्लाम और कम्युनिज्म विश्व में 3 बड़ी शक्तियां बन के उभरे हैं। एक ट्रायड, एशिया महाद्वीप का एक देश इस ट्रायड का कॉमन इंटरेस्ट है। एक बड़ा सा देश, संसाधनों से भरपूर, अंग्रेजों से ताजा ताजा आजाद हुआ, उनका कोहिनूर भारत। इस दिन तक आने में इसी ट्रायड के कारनामों से भारत बहुत लहूलुहान हुआ है। पर सबसे गहरा घाव मजहब और कौम का है। आम भारतीय खुशी से नाच रहे हैं, पर सत्ता के गलियारों में बन चुके पावर वैक्यूम का उन्हें ज्यादा अंदाज नहीं है। ट्रायड अगर फिर से घुस पाता तो घुस जाता, पर अभी नहीं। पाकिस्तान बनने के बाद जो भारत बचा है वो अभी स्वदेशी, स्वराज और स्वतंत्रता के मत वाले हिंदुओं का एक समुद्र है। पर इन लोगों का दुर्भाग्य था, उन दिनों के अधिकतर व्यापारी, नेता, जजेस, वकील, ब्यूरोक्रेट्स, पुलिस और राजा महाराजा, ये सब ट्रायड के हुक्म बजाकर ही फले फूले थे। सब कुछ त्याग कर गरीबों के लिए अंतर्राष्ट्रीय झगड़े मोलने से आसान था चुपचाप सत्ता का ट्रांसफर होने देना, ट्रायड से दोस्ती बना के रखना और फिर अंतर्राष्ट्रीय हीरो बनना। और यहीं से शुरू होती है स्वतंत्र भारत की कहानी, जब भूरे साहिबों ने गोरे साहिबों से देश की बागडोर अपने हाथ में ली। जब 800 सालों की गुलामी में बोए बीजों के फूटने का समय आया, जब भारत के शतरंज की एक नई बिसात बिछाई गई।
All of you should subscribe to Prachyam OTT on Prachyam.com. Watch, the history of invasions on Bharat, what we have gone through in the last about 1400 years. And there is so much to be really enjoy there. There's stuff, for Prachyam kids now. There is, so many films on varied examples on very topics, on Bharat. You all can enjoy that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Viewers, please like, subscribe and share this video. We hope to have another session here at the World Hindu Congress soon. Thank you.
Thank you.